Well, we're finally doing remakes.
Yes.
The last episode we did, Phone Scenes, was a placeholder for this. And on that, I said to you I'd been singing an awful lot, and I gave you a few bars of I Just Called to Say I Love You. And I'm thinking a cover version is like a remake. To segue into this episode, why don't you give us a few bars? Let's hear your beautiful voice, and I'll provide some very subtle harmonising. Take it away.
I just
called to say I love you.
Jesus Christ. Do my jokes ever come across wrong to you? We ever think, like, that's a bit shit?
I'd say 60-40.
Don't call me stupid. On which side?
I'll let you pick.
The best bits.
I'll use small words that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
You are stupid, you have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.
Don't call me stupid.
Hey besties, what's good? Welcome to the Bougie Podcast. That's all good vibes, no cap, where we stand our fave flicks and flex on random themes. Bet. I'm Kevin, the male Karen snack. Do better. And I'm joined by my co-host Will C, the cishet scribe thirst trap zaddy. Let's spill some cinematic tea. Period. Hashtag movie buff. Will.
Oh God.
What's good?
How are you? I'm good, Kevin. How are you? I've no idea what's going on.
I just decided to remake the intro and to update it for a new generation.
Very good. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
You see, it went right over my head. I was lost. I was adrift.
Well, we're doing remakes. It's taken ages for us to get here.
Yes.
Sorry to the listener that wrote in, Mark. This was a topic where, when we got it, I thought, oh yeah, that's interesting. And then I forgot, oh fuck, that means double the workload because you've got to compare and contrast.
I found it quite challenging because I was looking for films and I was like going, oh God, that's a really good film. Oh, that's a remake of that other film. Well, I better go watch the original movie. And then I watched the movie that was, so I had, it was double the workload for me.
Well, I think a way that we could start this topic is to get rid of some of the films that we've talked about an awful lot and not
We have to do it. Yeah.
Not remake those conversation pieces.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
There is this discrepancy, I think, out there between what is a real remake and what is a second adaptation of a source material. So
yes.
Dune is not really a remake of David Lynch's Dune.
Mm-hmm.
It's a second adaptation of Frank Herbert's book.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I said, if we were going to be talking about, I think the category of adaptations is a separate category to remakes. I think we should be talking about films that are remakes of original movies that originally
if it was written for the screen.
Exactly.
And then they're adapting that, then that's a true remake.
Yeah.
The other one is The Thing.
Of course. It's got to be right at the top of the list. And can I say, for the purposes of my research, I went and watched the original for this episode.
So did I.
The Thing from Another World.
The Thing from Another World. This is the spot where it was first seen, and these are the first people who saw the thing. How did it get here? Where did it come from? What is it?
That thing's alive, sir. I saw it. I shot it. I hit it. I know it. Nothing happened. It just kept coming at me, making a noise like a gas mewing. Captain, it was awful. If you could have seen those hands and those eyes.
It was a very quaint B-movie, sci-fi, horror. For me, it didn't.
It's an awful lot of people walking into rooms together and babbling. It was just a load of men running into this room and going like, well, the science says we got to do this. Well, Captain, we got to go over here. And then just moving like a herd in and out like a farce. And then there was some Frankenstein like horror.
There you go. That was the big problem. That was, that was the basically everything about the John Carpenter remake. Everything good about it wasn't present in the original film, I believe.
No women.
There was. There was a woman. At least there was a woman in the 1950s version. At least that.
I like those kind of films though when you're in the right mood for them and they sort of just they're relaxing. The sort of the tone of them, the crackle on the audio. I love that vibe. But my God, it was an awful lot of like men marching into rooms and babbling.
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it because I knew it was research, and I was feeling like I was ticking a box, but it didn't have any of the tension that I wanted. The alien itself, like, wasn't at all
Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, it wasn't at all as astounding and incredible and terrifying as the John Carpenter one, because you just didn't know who it was. It didn't have the sense, which I was surprised, it didn't have the sense of paranoia which John Carpenter's one had, which I was kind of expecting. I thought it would have been there in the 1950s version when we were in the period of the Cold War and the McCarthyism and whatnot, anti-Soviet era, well, which was also there in the 1980s. But I was surprised that was absent from that original picture.
Carpenter's film does something which is unique, I think. Well, it's not unique, but it does something very successfully that is hard to do. And that's, it creates a large ensemble, and then it also manages to have dread within that ensemble. So you feel, and I think it's because the story is like, you don't know which one of them is your enemy. So the ensemble is almost the thing to be afraid of. But usually if you have a horror film with too many characters, there's safety in numbers. And so you don't feel any tension or dread. It's like you feel safe. It's usually a case in horror where they'll isolate people. So with the original, it was just, there was like 17 characters moving in and out of rooms and just, everyone was frantic to figure this out. And they also had that mad scientist type guy who was like talking about carrots from outer space. And I thought, this is a 50s B movie.
He was a bit like, that character was a bit like Burke from Aliens. He was like, we got to hold on to it. We got to see what benefits we can get from this thing. You know, we need to protect it. We need to save it.
Telegram vines. I like that. What I was talking about. There are vines out there that can send messages to one another, which is actually a real thing.
Oh, mycelium and stuff like that.
Yeah, the tapestry of like fungi. Apparently, the Earth is alive. That if you go down deep enough, it's all connected. All these fungus are connected to one another and communicating with one another.
Oh, God only knows what it's saying about me.
You're not better than me. Well.
You know what it did highlight to me, that original one and John Carpenter's thing? When I was watching the original movie, the 1950s film, I was thinking in my gut, I was thinking about how Carpenter's film was so much better because I liked the decisions they made to make that film better. Like they took the setting was really good.
Got rid of women. I don't know why you keep bringing it up. Well, you know,
the setting was compelling. It's an isolated, cold, Arctic setting. The idea of an alien landing, the idea of them being stuck.
Antarctic. That's the big difference. The first one's the Arctic and the second one's Antarctica.
Yeah, I suppose that's where, that's the big difference. That's the one that really tripped me up. Oh, I don't like it because it's not the Antarctic. That's the main reason. But one of the things that stood out for me was it's so much easier to adapt a bad film or to remake a bad film, because I feel when I'm watching a bad film, the part of my brain that gets kicked into gear is the writer part of my brain. It was trying to fix the story. I'm in the cinema going, oh God, this isn't working. I need to fix this. I need to fix this. And so I think it's easier to take a bad film, remake it and make it better. And I think it's fool's errand to take a really good film and to remake that, hoping you're going to replicate the success.
Usually I find that, and I think I've said this before, when they try and remake a film that has failed the first time, it fails the second time.
Okay.
And I'm sure that someone has brought up Dune as being an example of that not happening, where Dune failed the first time, but the proverbial remake was a huge success. Again, is it really a remake? But I think, they always say, don't remake the classics, remake the bad films. Like if there's a good idea in there and the film was executed poorly, but for whatever reason, it's very hard to make an unsuccessful film a successful one later on. We've had so many remakes over the last few years, and I just don't know why they still continue to try and do that.
So are you? I'm just
apart from the fact that they're terrified of original material.
Yeah. If there was one genre that gets remade more than any other,
horror
probably is the horror genre, isn't it?
It is, and some of the best remakes are in the horror genre. I'm sure I've told you this before, but I can't watch bad films and enjoy them. For me, it's like watching a bad stand-up and I'm just cringing. So when I watch a bad film, I feel like I am going to absorb subconsciously the way that they've done it, and then that will become part of my subconscious thinking for when I'm doing my own stuff. And I don't know, I just get hives watching something really bad, or it's like, oh God, turn it off, I can't watch this, it's horrible. I just don't know what it is. I feel like I'm going to catch the badness of the film.
Yeah, and there's also, you have to, I wouldn't watch something that was objectively bad in my eyes. There has to be something about it that I will, okay, reasons I would have to watch it. I'm doing it for research for this podcast, or as someone,
disaster movies,
or someone has said to me, here, actually give it a go. And I'm going, okay, someone went to bat for this. I'm going to give this a go, and it might turn out to be bad. You know, so
has anything I've ever recommended to you turned out bad when you watched it?
Oh God, honestly, I can't pull that information. You know,
because it never happened.
Well, I'm sure it's happened. But no, I'm not able to.
Can I tell you another one that I watched that it's not a new adaptation of an original piece of material, but it is a film where you were talking about it being homework for the podcast. This one felt like homework for me.
Okay.
And it had been talked up an awful lot as, well, the remake, which I think is a fucking banger.
Yeah.
That got criticized for not being as good as the original. And the original has often been cited as like one of the great 60s films. And I watched it for this. And I kind of hated it.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. But the two films are the Thomas Crown Affair. Have you seen either of them?
You know what? I don't think I've seen either of them properly. I've seen...
Really?
Yeah, neither. I don't think I've seen...
John McTiernan?
No, I don't think I've watched it. It was just... I didn't get it in the cinema. That's the problem. I didn't get into cinema.
God, the remake with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo is fantastic, and it's very, very clever. Some of the ways that he weasels his way out of these traps that Rene Russo is
right.
fashioning to try and catch him, and the way he steals paintings and stuff, it's really fucking, it's so well done. It's a very smart, slick film, polished as well. I love that remake.
This painting is worth $100 million.
They shut off the air to drive out the tourists. Then they close the gates to keep everybody out. Diversion. Make a lot of noise over there. So over here in this room, you can take $100 million off the wall and waltz right out the front door. Oh, that's good.
Oh, yes.
And did you watch the original?
I did. I watched it for this, and do you know what? There's a certain kind of 60s film which really grates on me, and it's that counterculture type where it's got this jazzy, fluty, like beatnik type score,
right?
And especially in Thomas Crown Affair, it's just constant split screens and doobity doo bop ba doo bop ba ba, and you feel like you're watching an episode of the fucking Monkeys, and
right.
Or Variety, you know, those sort of like 60s half-hour variety shows, and the film is filled with that. There are moments that I loved, like Faye Dunaway. She's brilliant in it.
Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway in the Thomas Crown Affair.
Let's start with the money.
Well, I don't have it.
What would you do if you did?
It does some things which I kind of like, which is that it has smart, intelligent, glamorous characters who are better than us, and we're watching them who are the best at what they do.
Yeah.
Try to, well, they have a cat and mouse story going on, but it's the execution, it's the way that it's shot, it's the way that it's put together. It bugged me. It was so tedious. And all of the really inventive, cool stuff, aside from the chess scene, is in the remake and not in this. So all the stuff that I love was invented for the remake.
Ah, okay. So I have just added the McTiernan version of the Thomas Crown to my watch list. I'm looking forward to it because it's just one
last great John McTiernan film.
Wow, it's just one of those ones that I just seem to have overlooked. I just didn't get it. I didn't bloody see it. That was the problem.
It's a very sexy film as well.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Could we pause the recording and come back in about 2 hours' time? Oh God, I don't want to bring up my best pick yet, but
I do. I mean, we'll call it quits. There's 15 minutes and we're grand. That'll do.
I made, as I was diving into this, there were more and more and more films that I was thinking, oh crikey, that would be great. I eliminated films that were like adaptations of books directly. They weren't remaking the original movie. They were like adapting the original source material. So
thank Christ, we're not have to talk about Lord of the Rings.
I wasn't going to bring up Lord of the Rings. Little Women. I was originally considering Little Women.
I've not seen either version.
Oh, I love it. Listen.
Just as I said to you before, I'm terrified. Like,
you're terrified of
how little they're going to be.
We've discussed this before. The Greta Gerwig adaptation. It's brilliant.
With their little lads.
I brought it up before. I think so. It falls in that category because it's an adaptation of the Stephen King book. So we can't bring that one up.
Yeah. Have you seen either?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've seen the original. I saw the 1989 or whenever it was, Tim Curry one, right? Both parts. Mm-hmm. And then I watched part one of the recent.
I always remember the video cover of that, the white video cover with the clone.
And the big double cassette box because you had 2 tapes. And it was a 2-tape. It was a red, I think they had a red kind of inside plastic kind of case.
Do you know what though?
What?
About 4 or 5 years back, I read the book for the first time. And I know now it's a conversation piece that comes up an awful lot where people that are discovering the books for the first time, they sort of have the same thought.
Yeah.
But I was shocked that I went my whole life with no one ever telling me what was originally the ending to it, the book. Have you ever read the book?
No, I haven't read the book, no. I'd love to. I actually would like to read the book.
I prefer the book to the original TV adaptation.
Okay.
That one, I never saw that until years and years later, and it didn't really work for me. But the book ends with the kids agreeing to have a gangbang down in the sewer.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because that is how you defeat the clone. It's through love. So the little girl who's about 12 or 13, she offers herself up to all the guys to have a go off her down in the sewer.
Oh, stop.
And that's how they escape. And I remember reading the book thinking, we're in an era where people are like scratching out bad language or terms which are falling out of favor.
Oh my God.
And that is still in the book. I was fucking stunned. And then I was really pissed off that they didn't put it in the remake.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I quite like those remakes, to be honest with you. I thought the first one was better than the second one. But yeah, I like that director's style. Okay. I like the way that he composes images, and I think he's a lot more talented than people are giving him any credit for, especially after Flash.
You'll flow too. You'll flow too. You'll flow too. You'll flow too.
I'm definitely going to watch part 2 just to kind of complete set. I might have to watch part 1 just to remind myself of what actually happened. I'm
never going to watch it.
What I might do, I might. What I wanted to bring up was a pair that I actually watched that I'd never seen. And I went, this is a good excuse to watch these films because they're definitely, it was a real blind spot. And it was Cape Fear.
Oh, yeah, see, I've only ever seen the remake.
Okay.
The Robert De Niro melodrama version.
Okay, so I had not seen the remake, so I said, let's go to the original first of all.
Feel suspense. Suspense that grips your heart in a vice. Feel fear. Numbing, paralyzing fear.
The original, Cape Fear, from 1962, stars Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum. I was watching it with fresh eyes, and I really fucking enjoyed it. Then went on to watch the Scorsese remake, and in the original, Gregory Peck is a noble, straight-laced, good guy, decent lawyer, and Robert Mitchum is the absolute epitome of evil, versus in the remake, Nick Nolte is morally quite corrupted, and Robert De Niro's character is a complete monster. He's come out of his hell itself. But the fact that Nick Nolte has sinned in the past, it feels like the choice they made was to make Robert De Niro's character feel like vengeance being reaped upon him. And it was really full on. It was really full on in its filmmaking.
It's proper melodrama.
Yeah, the score.
Action.
It's quite bold. It's quite like it has its camera in the remake. The camera styles, there's a lot of split what are those split lenses, what are they called, split diopters, a lot of those shots. There's a lot of like compositing done with the sky and stuff like that. There's an incredible shot of Robert De Niro when he comes out of prison. The thunder-filled sky with lightning tracing across it and whatnot. But I enjoyed the original more. Just Gregory Peck's decency. And what surprised me was the performances. Like Robert Mitchum, they didn't hold back on the abuse that Max Cady is enacting on women. Like, he's a rapist. Like, it's quite clear he's a rapist and he goes after young girls. They go to the extreme in the Scorsese version.
Juliette Lewis was quite young as well in that film.
Yeah. What? There's a rape scene.
She was 15 or something.
Jesus, it's creepy. So I'm not saying the Scorsese version is bad. I'm saying it's good, but the original is better. Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because I watched both and I said, I have to bring them up.
Yeah. Show your work.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. Yeah. So,
do you like remakes? We've been flooded with remakes.
Totally depends on the remake. You can have good remakes and you can have bad
but
remakes.
Are you sick of remakes? I mean, I've got to be honest with you. When we did the Picard series,
right,
and we've already done Lego sequels. We did that sequel reboots with Joe Barton way back in season 2, I think.
Yeah.
And we covered a lot of ground on that. But it wasn't until I saw the Picard season 3 show where I realized that is how you do a Lego sequel. That is how you actually pay off older characters coming back and it feeling satisfying and like there was a story to be told there. Maybe it's because, they had the TV show to pay off and stuff and they were kind of rectifying a lot of the wrongs with the films. But for the most part, aside from all the Lego sequels, when I hear of another remake, there was one just announced today, which is they're doing a remake of Possession. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a writer as well. And listen, my stock and trade and all I'm able to do, because I'm not getting hired to write these IP adaptations, is I can just write original material. So I always lament the fact that it's like, here we go again. These are characters that I've seen introduced and it's now going to be how are you going to do this version of that character and are they going to include this or are they going to put a spin on it? And maybe I've just lived too long and these films are being made for a different audience, but I don't particularly love remakes.
I was thinking about this.
In general, like the deluge of them. But, saying that, some of my favourite films are remakes.
Yeah. Like I think it's a good time to bring up films that have been remade more than once. So there's been a few of them.
Yeah, and you go to the theatre and there's a new stage production of whatever, Macbeth. And it's like, yeah, but those things are not, for the most part, recorded. They are a one-time thing. You go to see it, you've seen it, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's a new standing of that play. But a film, it exists as like a piece of art. So, I don't know. Then there's the other thing, right? And I don't know when I'll be able to segue this in, but as we're talking more about the emotional side of things and how we respond to it, I remember being asked to do the novelization of Grabbers, to turn it into a book. And there was an offer from, I can't remember the company now, to do it. And, you'd think, you just take the script and you just add to it. But for me, it felt so creatively redundant and so deadening to go back and to build out that story and add in characters that were not in the script or put in extra scenes and sort of expand it and expand it and expand it. And I know other people that have done it and things like that, but it felt so pointless to me because I'd done that.
Exactly.
I explored it, exercised it, and and I don't understand how, and there've been a lot of them, how filmmakers can actually remake their own films.
What examples do we have of filmmakers remaking their own films?
Hitchcock, Sam Raimi, Michael Haneke, Michael Mann, Cecil B. DeMille.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot. Hitchcock did it a lot.
There's more. There's more, but I can't pronounce their names. Ole Borndahl, who did Night Watch. He did the two versions of Night Watch, the one with Ewan McGregor, the remake, and the one with Jamie Lannister. Takesha Shimizu, who did The Grudge and Ju-On. So Sam Raimi, who did Evil Dead 2, which was kind of a remake of Evil Dead.
I was going to bring that up, yeah.
He was sort of like, I've done this before, it's fine. So he took the original director of Ju-On and said, we're going to beef this up, do a Hollywood version. Do you want to remake your own film? And he said, yeah, okay, cool. And I just, when I see that, I think that's fascinating, but I can't imagine how tedious that would be to spend time redoing something you've already done. And I know, like, we all feel that God, I wish I could do that over. I'd do it so much better. But for me, I just feel like, I don't know. I just want something new.
Unless you've completely burned out on it. Unless you kind of feel like, oh, I didn't quite get it right that first time. I would love to have this set of paints and toolbox available to me to properly tell this in a really glossy manner. That would be amazing.
Maybe it's different for a writer because we've actually gone through the process of that multiple times already, just in the screenwriting process. So we're always doing draft 2, draft 3, draft 4, draft 5, draft 6. So we've remade it, and then somebody else remakes it. So it's probably a different thing where, a filmmaker only gets to shoot the film once, whereas a writer has to rewrite the film dozens of times.
Too many times.
I think the cutoff should be 3 drafts. That's it. It's not going to get any better than that. You're just moving deck chairs on the fucking Titanic at that stage.
I think probably right. You're probably right on that one. Yeah, you're definitely burning out fucking energy. Do you know what? There was a fun one, and it had its 25th anniversary this year, and it's when I said, you know what? Let's bring that up because it's a 25th anniversary.
25th anniversary, so we're going back to 1999.
Yeah.
A big bubbly one.
Yeah.
And the remake happened in 1999.
Yeah, that was the remake. That's when the remake came out.
Oh. I don't know. What is it?
The Mummy.
Oh, yeah.
Many men have wasted their lives in the foolish pursuit of Harmonoptera. Most have never returned.
I think you found something.
Call it the doorway to hell. Oh my God, it does exist.
But that it feels like a totally different.
But there you go.
Take on.
But is it? Is it though? It's the same central villain taking the concept. They were updating it. They were making it fresh. And I'm telling you, when I saw that in the cinema, I knew it wasn't the best film of the year, but I had fun. Brendan Fraser was great crack. Rachel Weisz was absolutely charismatic. There was such a kind of a fun, cartoonish entourage of characters. Yeah.
Film.
It was a bubbly adventure. And
that was one of the first DVDs I owned.
And I bet you watched it loads.
Nah, just once. I used to buy DVDs for the special features. I was genuinely into films for the ones. I would buy films because they had so many.
Yeah.
There might be 2 audio commentaries and there'd be an extended behind the scenes retrospective.
And if it didn't have
pieces, ones you could forget about.
If it was a vanilla disc, I would kind of go, I think I'll wait. Eventually a special edition will come out. I'll wait for that. And that Mummy disc actually did have a lot of good special features. I remember a lot of them.
I think it was a double disc. Sometimes you open it and there was two discs in there.
Yeah, I thought it was good. That was a fun remake. And what it was doing was it was based on obviously the Universal horror movie
Dracula.
Those monster movies, Dracula or the Wolfman or the Invisible Man, I don't know which one. And it just took those core elements and said, right, let's rejuvenate this. It still set it in the 1930s, which was interesting. It kept it in as a period film, which actually was great fun, and just added a monster into it. So it kind of felt like Indiana Jones meets, Dracula.
The Mummy. You're saying that, and you just reminded me that the Lee Whannell Invisible Man was a great remake of the Invisible Man property.
It was excellent. Absolutely excellent.
I love that film. It was so good.
Again, that was taking a monster and updating it for the time, and God above.
And just doing its own thing.
Yeah.
That's what you want. I like it when they take... That's when a remake feels... It's in conversation with the original and it's updating. It's not trying to cynically update what's happened. Like let's take the same core story and just put characters in there with modern haircuts and put a load of fucking shit TikTok music on the soundtrack and
using nostalgia as a way to, market the film.
Not even, just John Carpenter, his films have been remade and bastardized, truly some awful remakes of his films. I guess that's penance for making one of the greatest remakes of all time.
I think he is quite happy to collect the check.
Aren't we all? Remake grabbers, fuck it.
Remake them all.
I'd get half my fee if they did. Please remake it.
I'm going to bring up some more of my homework that I did, right? So,
but wait, we talked about directors who've remade their own films.
Yes, go on.
And I feel like that's a fascinating topic.
Of course, yeah.
So I watched a Hitchcock doubleheader just yesterday for this. The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera.
You're right, that was a gunshot you heard. That was the signal that brought all the trouble out into the open. It's a scene from our new picture, The Man Who Knew Too Much. As you know, Alfred Hitchcock has an uncanny knack for coming up with the unusual in entertainment. Well, The Man Who Knew Too Much can certainly be put in that category. I play the part of an American doctor. Doris Day is my wife. And the story is about our trip abroad that started out as a holiday and ended up as a nightmare. And to film it, Hitchcock took us thousands of miles away from Hollywood to Marrakesh, which is right in the center of the North African trouble area. And that was just the beginning. From there, we flew to London for backgrounds of a whole strange series of events that ended up that final night in the great concert hall, where the cue for murder was one single crash of the cymbals.
Okay, right.
He did it in the 30s in London before he'd been parachuted out of there because of the war and stuff, and he'd gone off to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he's made his Rebecca's and all those kind of, big grand Hollywood suspense films. But then he redid it in the 50s with Doris Day and Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
Who are great together. They've got a real fantastic chemistry where they don't feel like they're performing to be a couple. They just have a rapport that he feels lived in, she feels lived in, and them together feels natural. And it's an interesting thing, when you watch couples on screen, and we're often attuned to seeing people fall in love on screen, but when people have been together for a while, it's really noticeable to me when it's fake, and the guy comes over, he's like, "Hi honey," and he rubs her back and kisses her on the cheek.
Yeah.
"Where are the kids? Daddy," that kind of bullshit. But when you see people who they're casually engaging with one another, there's a over familiarity where they can walk off and not finish a sentence.
He farts in front of her, she doesn't throw a ring at him.
I'm trying to make a serious point here.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know, it's something where I always admire. I think like, that taps into what I love about a certain kind of film, and it's watching people inhabit a space.
Right.
I love that, where they're not, there to hit beats and hit marks and deliver exposition. It's just, how are they engaging with one another, where she might like slightly lean against him, and he might, tip her on the arm when he's about to say something before he says it.
Yeah.
And it's just those tiny little gestures of comfortableness that I like. Anyway, that film is all over the place in terms of tone, the remake, and the remake is a much better film in my eyes. It's more vibrant, and it helps it's in Technicolor, but it's really watchable, and it's classic Hitchcock for me. The original one is much more darker and ominous and very British, and you can see that it's the nascent era of Hitchcock where the ideas are there, but he wasn't able to sprinkle in all the extra magic.
Okay.
The sound design wasn't there. The music wasn't there. The sort of the cutting together of scenes, they weren't as slick, the transitions.
So do you think, I'm just wondering there, are you answering a question from earlier on? Whereas like,
I don't know what
but a question, basically you were saying like, what motivates filmmakers to go and remake their own films again? So I wonder, is this one of those cases where Hitchcock did have like, a scrappy, low budget movie, and, he had to get films made, and he went, let's just remake that one. And says, now I have a chance to do it in Technicolor with a big budget with like incredible Hollywood stars who have got great chemistry together. This is what I really want to do with it. I want to properly fulfill my original vision for this film. So do you think it was like, narratively, was it the exact same? Did they like change very much plot wise?
It's more comedic in some aspects, but it's darker. You know, it's a British couple rather than an American couple. So the American version feels a little bit more Hollywood, and the British version feels more wry. He's messing with different tones and different genres, and there's a lot of it in it that feels like it's him finding his sea legs and sort of experimenting and having these clashing tones and these clashing styles that he only improves upon. So they're both valid, they're both good. It's just, it depends on your mood. It's a cliche to describe them as reserved, but they're more uptight in that, gee, Ginny, you shouldn't be doing that. Oh, Daddy, I can't be, you know. And then the Americans are more natural on screen, almost.
Right. Okay.
It's bigger. It's a much bigger film, but it has that famous song, you know, which it's bizarre that song is in the film, but when I was just a little boy, and it's like she sings that to him, and that became a number one hit for Doris Day. But it's almost like having 9 to 5 in Ransom, where Rene Russo was like singing to the kid. Fucking 9 to 5. What a way to make it.
Oh my God.
It's like, give me back my son. The Fast and Loose back then, you know, it was all just about give the audience too much of everything and fuck them, they'll be delighted with themselves.
They'll be fucking grand. Leave them off. Here, take that and just lick her or lump it. You'll be all right. And come back to me in the morning. Do you know what you actually just brought? There was a film, Phil Collins single, right? Which was called Against
Buster.
All Odds. Against All Odds, right? And it
This isn't Buster.
No, sorry. He's single. He does a hit single called Against All Odds, right? And that became the title song for a film called Against All Odds, starring Jeff Bridges, Rachel Ward, and James Woods, right? But that actually was that film is
this film? Jeff Bridges, Rachel Ward, and who?
Against All Odds, James Woods. So that was the name of the film. It came out in 1984, right?
What's that song go like? How can I just let you walk away?
Just let you leave without a trace. And nothing is wet in every breath with you. Ooh, you're the only one.
I know.
But that film, Against All Odds. So this was the era of, like, you know, big hit singles being the titles of movies. And that was a remake of the 1947 film Out of the Past. So there you go. It wasn't very good. It wasn't a good film. It wasn't a good remake, but it just popped into my head. Useless trivia just popped into my head, and now it's in your head. You're very welcome.
What's your favourite song from a film? Like the pop songs.
Oh shit!
I can tell you what mine is.
Yeah, you might go there first because you're getting me on the hop. Go on.
I
got mine.
Go on then. Tell me.
Mine is definitely Your Eyes and Say Anything. John Cusack is holding up.
In your eyes.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'll tell you, this is my favourite Madonna song.
Oh.
Madonna has billions of songs and billions of like fucking bangers, but it's from a film which I've not seen, a Sean Penn film.
Oh.
I've forgotten the title of it now. A Man Can... Oh, God. I can't even remember the tune of it now, and it's...
Like a Virgin?
Oh, no. What is it? Oh, a man can tell 1,000 lies. I've learned my lesson well. Hope I live to tell the secret. Till then, it will burn inside of me.
I have no idea what this fucking song is.
You definitely know this fucking song. What? I'm probably doing a terrible job of it. What's the song called? I'm going to have to Google it now.
So, you're saying...
Sean Penn, Madonna. I think it's a fucking brilliant, like, genuinely, like, fantastic song. It could almost be in, like, a Michael Mann film.
Really?
Michael Mann has some great music in his films.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get on to him in a second.
Yeah.
But it's that spacey, like, dreamy ballad. And I can't get up my...
You can't get it up?
I can't get up because I'm on Google Meets.
Hold on. So it's a Sean Penn Sean Penn, is it Sean Penn? She's not in it.
Yeah, but Sean Penn is singing on it. He's the one that's doing the rap. Greta Garbo, Emerald, Dietrich and the banjo.
Oh.
No, Will, for fuck's sake, that's Vogue.
That's fucking, what? Till Death Do Us Part?
What's it called?
Till Death Do Us Part. Or Live to Tell. Is that it? Live
that's
to Tell.
The name of the title. Live to Tell.
Live to Tell. Now I actually have to listen to a little bit.
Tell.
Sorry.
I don't know where the Live to Tell comes into it, what the lyrics are.
I
just remember, a man can tell 1,000 lies. I've learned my lesson well.
I'm listening to it. Oh, I like this.
I love that song.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like
Listen
this.
to it after.
I know. Oh, it's a good song. I like that. That's right up my alley. That's good. Sorry, everyone listening to the podcast.
I don't know where that came into my head, but I just remember thinking, like, oh, it's that one. It's not Papa Don't Preach or anything.
Like a virgin or something she did for Dick Tracy. She didn't do it for Dick Tracy, did she? Kevin, remix. We need to talk about remix. We need to get this in the bag. We've so many still to talk about.
Michael Mann. We just talked about Michael Mann. I watched LA Takedown, which was the original Heat.
Couldn't find it. I wanted to find it. Couldn't find it. How was it?
Shite.
Really?
Genuinely, I hated it. He was right to remake it. I'll tell you that.
Okay, right.
And I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
And you know what? Here's a segue for you. The fella in it who plays the Robert De Niro part, he's Patrick in the LA Takedown version, and Robert De Niro's Neil McCauley or something like that.
You're right. Neil McCauley, yeah.
I was watching him thinking, who the fuck is this guy? I recognize him. I know I've seen him before. And then I was looking up IMDb and I'd seen him in nothing else. He played like, a background character in some crime film. I can't remember the name of the crime film though. And I was like, God, how do I recognize him? What's he done? Maybe it's because he looks like Jared Leto. Do you know where I'd seen him before?
Where?
He was in the Madonna music video, Papa Don't Preach, I'm in trouble deep.
Okay.
He was the boyfriend.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I made up my mind. Yeah. The acting in the film is atrocious. Not from him. He's grand. The other guy, the guy who's playing the Al Pacino part, is so wooden. And the thing with LA Takedown is it was originally a pilot.
Okay, right.
To be a TV show.
Right.
So Michael Mann obviously done Miami Vice, and that was a massive, monumental, fucking staggering hit. It was one of those seismic TV shows that everyone was influenced by and trying to recapture that sense of cool.
Yeah.
That had amazing music as well, Miami Vice, like fucking the Don Johnson theme in that. Oh, God.
We talked about
that.
It came up on opening credits, but like that was we did a segue into 80s TV shows, and I jokingly said the opening titles to 80s TV shows were often better than the show itself. This was one of those cases.
This is driving music. This isn't like the theme tune. This is like
I agree, and that's the same. Yeah, you would just kind of go. That was the highlight when he was just driving, and he was driving. I think it was a Lamborghini, whatever he was driving. But yeah, that music.
Testarossa,
I think.
Yeah. But Ferrari Testarossa. Yeah, but LA Takedown, because it was maybe a pilot and then it was refashioned into being a standalone TV feature, it felt really amateurish. Like, the acting was bad, the editing was bad, the sound was terrible. Like, it felt like it was the sound you'd capture on the day and it wasn't mixed in afterwards, where they'll go back in there, sweeten it. And sometimes if you hear the raw audio of a scene put together, it's terrifying. Like, often directors want to kill themselves after they watch like an assembly cut because there's no luster to it. There's no magic to it. It's people in rooms saying dialogue in a wooden way.
Yeah.
And none of it feels like it's got any energy, or
it's dead.
It just doesn't feel like a film.
It's dead. Because
it's like,
it shows how much we experience films through as much, if not more,
sound.
through our ears. Yeah. Along with our eyes. Once you mess with the ear, what's going into your ears, it ruins the magic. Absolutely destroys it.
Listen, for me, one of the things I love about the cinema still, when you get a good cinema experience, it's the audio. You can't recapture the audio at home, even if you've got like your speaker set up and you've got like, or even if you've got like fucking great headphones on, it's not the same. You go to a film and just dialogue scenes, the oomph, the bass to people's voices when they're talking, every moment, like the atmosphere of the room that they're in, the room tone, it's got like weight and heft to it. I love great sound design in any kind of film, especially at cinema. And that was completely lacking.
A recent in cinemas example for me was Furiosa, because, oh my God, I felt the sound. I felt the vibrations of the V8 engine through my arse, because he got the sound in the bass was just running through the speakers, and I could feel it up the arse of my pants through the seat. It was amazing. And
my God, that sounds like a fun day. Yeah. Do you know what the one for me with that was? Civil War. The fucking shootout in Civil War.
Still haven't seen it.
My God, I felt like I was actually in Fallujah. It was fucking like, you know, when there's a loud bang and you can feel it in your chest.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, your ribcage rumbled.
Yeah.
The final, have you seen Civil War?
Not yet. No. I'm waiting for it. I was gone from the cinema when I finally got a window to go to it, and it was like, it's not on tonight. So
one of my favorite films of the year. It'd probably be in my top 3, I'd say, unless something else sneaks in there at the end. The sound design of that was incredible. But in LA Takedown, none of that is there. So it was a really painfully awkward experience. The very famous scene between Al Pacino and Robert De Niro when they're face to face, and where they've got all those great lines.
7 years in McNeil.
Yeah.
McNeil's no country club.
You looking to become a penologist?
You looking to go back? I chased down crews. The guys are just looking to go back.
You must have worked some pretty bad off crews.
I worked all kinds.
You see me doing thrill seeker liquor store holdups with a Born to Lose tattoo on my chest?
No.
Right. And I am never going back.
Don't take down scores.
That's my job. I do what I do best. Take down scores. You do what you do best, trying to stop guys like me. End of story.
You know, whatever happened to a normal type life? You ever thought of that?
Family breakfasts and barbecues? Kids on Sunday afternoons? That life? That's nice. Is that your life?
At this moment in time, no. My life is more like a disaster area. I got a great woman I'm truly in love with, but I'm probably losing her because I spent all my time chasing guys like you around the block. So right now I'm alone.
Then where's all the good stuff?
I don't know. What are you, a monk?
No. I got a woman.
What do you tell her?
I tell her I sell swimming pools.
And live a life so there's nothing in it you can't walk away from in 10 seconds flat.
Yeah.
So what if you spot me around the corner? You can do what you're supposed to, just walk away, not even say goodbye.
That's a discipline.
And what you're left with is pretty empty.
Yeah. So then you and me, we should both go do something else, pal.
I don't know how to do anything else.
Neither do I.
You know, we're here sitting, talking. And if I'm there when you're coming out of a score, I'll blow you out of your socks. I won't like it, but I won't think twice about it. Because if the wife of some poor bastard you kill is going to be made into a widow, or you're going to go down, brother, hey, you're going to go down. Because you don't have to be here. You could be a mailman.
Well, there's a flip side to that coin. Now that we've been face to face, I'd as soon let you walk on by. But if you're there and you got me boxed in, I'll put you down. I'll do what I gotta do, and you will not get in my way. But then again, maybe it'll never happen.
Maybe. Maybe not.
And to see it performed by other actors, the same dialogue, same director, same story, essentially. Obviously, there's a huge difference between a film like Heat, where he can let moments linger, he can have atmosphere, he can have, you know, scenes where nothing is happening, but you're just watching somebody inhabit an empty apartment and the silhouette against the LA nightscape.
Because it's beautifully composed. It's beautifully composed along with the sound.
But there's a confidence, and there's enough space left in the form of a feature film to be able to allow not much to be happening. But in TV, when you've got an ad break coming up in 12 minutes, it's plot, 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 plot. Get out the character beats, like hit it. And it's a lot of information. You're trying to get information across. So obviously it's going to be hampered by that, and different performances are required for TV, especially back then. But to see the same scene performed, a dry run of it, and then see it done later, it's very telling. And it doesn't do any favors for the original duo, even though, as I say, the Papa Don't Preach guy is quite good. I'm surprised he didn't do more. He was he's a spitting image of like Jared Leto, except he wasn't as off-putting as Jared Leto. The other guy was atrocious though.
I'm so glad I didn't find that film.
But then there are directors who remake their short films. They take a short film and they make it into a feature film. That kind of always works. But again, I suppose it's like
Christopher Nolan did it.
You're doing something entirely new then.
Didn't Christopher Nolan do it? And it kind of feels like even David Lynch has been kind of doing that he's short films. You know, I've seen several of his short films, experimental ones, and it feels like Eraserhead is just an extension of his experimental short films with that creepy, nightmarish vibe and whatnot. And even with Cameron's student films, you ever see James Cameron's epic sci-fi student film?
I've only seen them in the context of a documentary where he had a stop motion sort of mech suit that was fighting another thing.
Yeah.
And it
was
like showing that the idea had always, but James Cameron has like held onto ideas for half his life. He sits with them for ages and ages. Avatar was another one.
Avatar feels like it was an idea he had back in the 80s or early 90s, and he got to do it a decade later. Yeah, it's weird. And I felt that story dated. If that film was made in the 90s, I think
Avatar.
I think it would have been the perfect time for it. But like a decade and a half later, or 2 decades later, it didn't feel like it worked. You were talking about films.
My controversial opinion on James Cameron, though, is that I wish he didn't win the Oscar. I wish that the film did really well, but he didn't win the Oscar, because I feel like with a man like Cameron, if he hadn't have scaled that mountain and reached the summit, it would have eaten away at him, and he would have come back with a vengeance, and he would have made something fucking incredible as his follow-up film to Titanic. Instead, he'd done it all. He'd achieved it all. He'd gone to the absolute peak. He was the king of the world. And then he just decided to take a step back and explore other adventures. And
I'm going to do something else.
I feel like,
yeah,
and I feel like I wish he'd fucking lost the Oscar. It would have driven him mad. We would have all benefited from that.
It probably would have. You were talking about when you were talking about ideas coming out of drawers and just kind of losing their zeitgeist. It kind of was a bit of a side segue for me in thinking about a film which has been remade on a big budget 4 times now, and it is A Star Is Born. That film has been made 4 times now.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've never seen any of them.
Okay, well, I did. This is me bringing my homework. Show your homework in class, kids. And I went and I've seen 3 of them, right? So I've seen the 1954 version, the 1976 one with Barbra Streisand, Chris Christopherson, and obviously the 2018 one directed by and starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. And I think A Star Is Born is one of those stories that can be remade every few decades. Because what they did is, what they've done cleverly in the various iterations is they've taken the core story and the core character dilemma and thematically about the damage of fame and how it's a really horrible place, and this love story that's born in the spotlight and how dangerous that is for them. And you can transpose it to every new generation, but plant it into whatever the current hot fame thing is. So like, for instance, in the 1954 thing, James Mason is a Hollywood movie star and Judy Garland becomes a movie star who's all singing, all dancing. And it was a reflection of, what was the zeitgeist at the time. A Star Is Born, it shifts the music to the rock world, and It's got that one's got an iconic scene of Chris Christopherson riding a motorbike blind drunk out onto the stage and crashing the motorbike on the stage at a live concert where it was like a Woodstock type of experience.
But Bradley Cooper pisses his pants though.
And he actually pissed his pants.
We've all done it.
We've all done it. And of course, the Bradley Cooper one, they kind of move it over to again, it stays in the music industry. The only one that hasn't won an Oscar was the 1954 version, which was, in my eyes, the best one. Because we have Judy Garland. Like, we're talking about performances. You're talking about characters feeling like they live with each other. They've lived in each other's skin, or like, they know each other intimately. Well, the version of the performance of Judy Garland and James Mason, who's a fucking legend. Judy Garland is wearing her heart on her sleeve. Her wounds are very, very open and raw in the performance on screen. And I know it's been nearly 70 years since the film, actually 70 years since the film came out. And I saw someone being very raw because she had an awful experience in her life. She was treated terribly by producers and lovers and whatnot. And you can feel the tragedy of the life she's had in that performance. And that for me was one of the great discoveries, the 1954 version of A Star Is Born, in researching for this topic. Thought it was excellent.
Maybe that's the one I'll watch then.
Yeah. Music numbers get a bit long, but the core story is brilliant. I loved it. And it's got
kind of like the mini bits.
Exactly like in mini bits.
You do it that benefit at the shrine. Come on, get dressed. You told them you'd be there.
That was before.
I know it was before, but come on, get dressed.
No.
You just gonna sit here forever?
Yes! Tonight and tomorrow night and for as long as I like. I don't want any of your homemade remedies. I know what you're trying to do, and the best thing you can do for me is to just leave me alone. You and everybody else. And thanks for the sympathy. I don't want it, not from you or anybody.
Sympathy? That's not what you're getting from me, baby. You don't deserve it. You're a great monument to Norman Maine, you are. He was a drunk and he wasted his life, but he loved you. And he took enormous pride in the one thing in his life that wasn't a waste, you. His love for you and your success. That was the one thing in his life that wasn't a waste. And he knew it. Maybe he was wrong to do what he did. I don't know. But he didn't want to destroy that. Destroy the only thing he took pride in. And now you're doing the one thing he was terrified of. You're wiping it out. You're tossing aside the one thing he had left. You're tossing it right back into the ocean after him. You're the only thing that remains of him now. And if you just kick it away, it's like he never existed. Like there never was a Norman Maine at all.
The Bond films, when they remade Thunderball, there's Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, that's an ongoing. There's a whole political, not even political, but like producery rights thing going on with that particular novel. Oh my God, it's an Irish producer, McClory. He was an Irish producer. Is that why?
Alison Doody is in Never Say Never Again.
Maybe she is. You're right. Yeah, she's in Never Say Never Again. Yeah,
and Kim Basinger's in there.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Bond girls, unofficial Bond girls.
Yeah, it was one of those weird. The origin story of that is that Ian Fleming wasn't having any success.
It was something to do with the script versus the novel. It was something. They have that going on at the moment with the Friday the 13th thing, where who owns what, whether somebody owns Jason or whether somebody owns Camp Crystal Lake and things like that. The rights split.
Yeah, it was one of those. In that instance, this was before Cubby Broccoli and bought the rights. But this producer McClory contracted Fleming to go and write a script or an idea for a Bond movie. And he did something, it was like a couple of pages or something like that. And McClory then kind of put dug his heels in and said, right, I've got this script, it's mine. But then Cubby Broccoli went off and they actually got the rights to the rest of them and whatever it was. But McClory was doggedly holding on, saying, I am the kind of the...
He had Spectre.
I have this. Yeah, so yeah, because he had Spectre and that was written in that version. So yeah, he
It's a terrible version of that story, though.
Yeah,
it just does not work.
It's not good.
Terrible song. Doesn't have the same vibe. Yeah. And it was a handshake agreement.
All the magic
between
who and who?
Between Roger Moore and Sean Connery. But they both decided to team up and play the producers off each other, so they both got a bigger payday.
Oh my God. Well, and they both made a lot of money. They both were like
they did
big box office hits that year.
Was it A View to a Kill? Was the Roger Moore one?
Either Octopussy or View to a Kill. I think it might have been Octopussy. View to a Kill was 1985.
What's your favourite Bond song? Did we ever talk about that in the Bond film?
We actually talked about it. We talked about it in a recent episode. The Alan Partridge one. I think it was like the...
Oh, we did. You told me yours and I never told you mine.
I can't remember.
I never told you mine, so how could you tell? You can't remember.
I can't remember what my one was. So there you go.
Yours was... it was the Carly Simon one.
Oh, the one with the Alan Partridge one, which I can't remember. Bit of nipple.
For your eyes. Oh no, that wasn't it.
Well, I like that one too. I like most of them. They're great. I actually like the one on your Majesty's Secret Service, which doesn't have any lyrics. We like that one.
Oh no. Oh, what's the one that we've got all the time in the world?
That's that one.
Yeah. That has lyrics. I just have all the time in the world.
I don't know where the non-lyrics one is in my head. I don't know where that's come from. It's just there somewhere.
I have two. I love A View to a Kill.
Okay, that's good.
It's a banger. It's A View to a Kill.
Living Daylights is good as well.
But I fucking love, and maybe it was because of the age I was, the GoldenEye one. Dun dun dun
oh,
dun.
Yeah.
Dun.
That is absolutely classic.
Then there are the films, right? And I'm kind of now moving towards my pick.
Okay.
But I will tell you, there are the films that I didn't know that they were remakes, the stealthy remakes.
Oh, tell me. I'm
the
curious.
True Lies remakes.
Yeah.
Total. And I'm not going to rehash it here, but everything brilliant in True Lies is a James Cameronism. So he took that French film and he completely transformed it into, I know some people think it's a horribly misogynistic and racist film. I don't agree. And I love that film so much. And I spoke about it on the audio commentary, and I spoke about what the original film was like and the sequel script that I'd read. So I'm not going to rehash that here, but that was one where I thought, holy shit, that was a remake. I did not know that. But then there's the ones where both films are fucking brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that would be Wages of Fear and Sorcerer.
4 hommes vont jouer leur vie au volant de ces camions.
I was going to bring it up. I'm so glad you brought it up. Both fantastic. Yeah, I agree.
I saw Sorcerer first, and I was riveted by that film. There's stuff on screen in that film where it is jaw-dropping to behold, because it's like, how the fuck did they get that truck across that bridge?
Yeah.
It looks like they risked their life to do it, and guess what? They risked their life to do it. And I thought there's no way that Wages of Fear is going to live up to that. It's a totally different speed, but my God, when you have a story that is that simple and nail-biting, which is trying to transport deadly cargo, it's so simple. It's like tapping into something primal in the limbic system of us, which is, boom, it's going to get you. But I loved
very good
both those films. So I would say that's one of the rare cases where the original and the remake stand side by side as like fucking fantastic versions. I'm going to sneeze.
Get back, demon.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, right.
I would say that's one of the rare cases where the original and the remake are equally matched. And you can't go wrong with both of them.
I want to watch them
whichever
again.
You pick.
I want to watch them again. Do you want me to rattle off a couple that I wanted to put really quickly, just name check them? Right.
I hope we get to like the Akira Kurosawas of it all, where it's like the films that Hollywood was influenced by to do Magnificent Seven versus Seven Samurai and things like that.
I'm going to let you do all that. Kevin.
I've done it now. It's over to you.
Listen, one that came out in 2001, great fun. A remake of a Brat Pack movie, Ocean's 11. Fantastic fun.
Oh, yeah.
The original movie is, let's be honest, a bit shit. And Soderbergh did a
but isn't that
brilliant job.
like the 60s of it all? It's like the
Everyone's just smoking
Bill Cosbyisms.
cigarettes. They're all just smoking cigarettes and just drunk.
Just a hangout film.
They're drunk. They're drunk for the whole thing. There's two that I've watched thanks to this podcast. One is a remake of a Disney movie, and itself is a Disney movie, Freaky Friday. The remake with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh,
great remake. Another remake that I've watched because of this podcast. There's one that
hold
you
on a
recommend.
second though.
What
about all those fucking awful live action remakes of the original animated films?
Well, let's not bring them up.
Ban them all.
Because
they're fucking cursed.
They shouldn't be here. One I've watched because of this podcast, a second-rate show, as a matter of fact. And I had watched the original, and the original is true dog shit, but the remake is glorious. It's a Little Shop of Horrors, which is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah,
love
but
that.
Little Shop of Horrors was shot like in 5 or 6 days. They had standing sets from another production, and Roger Corman said, wait, don't tear them down. I can do something with this. And so he had like about a week for a guy to come in and write a script and pull in Jack Nicholson and all these, wannabe actors and say, fucking make something. We've got 3 days to make a film here. And so they did.
It's still shit. It doesn't make it good. Make it good. But the remake is amazing. So let's give her credit because
I love
it
the
spawned
remake.
something. Yeah, it's a brilliant one.
Frank Oz, I love him.
There's a film that I went and sought out the 1930s original, but the remake is one it's something that I cry my eyes out every time I watch it, and it is The Champ. The remake is a cute, nice. Did you not? Do you not like the Champ?
The Tramp.
The Cramp. Do you not like the
John
Cramp?
Collins film?
Do you like the bitch? The bitch, the vamp. No, my favorite one is the one where what was that one? Oh, the cunt.
Tina, bring me the axe.
What was that? Was that German?
Yeah, she was the count.
I just watched the film the other day, the Ken Russell film, Whore.
Oh, right.
It was funnier in the idea of it than actually sitting there watching it. I was like, oh, come on, you whore. Would you get on with it?
You whore, yeah.
Cheeky whore. Cute whore. That's what I'd say for that film. She's a cute whore.
A 90s film, which I absolutely adore, and I haven't watched it recently enough.
This will be something shit, though, I know it.
Father of the Bride.
I used to think a wedding was a simple affair.
The Steve Martin movie.
Yeah, those are that's the era of the Steve Martin career where Dennis Pennis pulled him aside at a red carpet event when I think he was doing Sergeant Bilko, and he said, Steve, when are you going to be funny again? And it killed him, and it was coming off those Father of the Bride films, but they are cute. They're very cute.
I think the first one is the beginning of him on that career trajectory. But I really like that.
Martin
film.
Short is hilarious.
He's
in that film.
very, very good. Oh, the original Only Murders in the Building pairing up. Am I right in saying that?
No, Three Amigos.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ. You know, like from that.
Before I get to my pick, I'll have to mention another one, a war movie, a remake, which I thought was great. The original I have seen a long time ago, but the remake really impressed me. And it was All Quiet on the Western Front. I thought that remake was excellent.
Oh, I didn't see that. I was thinking of 1917 when you were saying that.
No, it came out, this one came out like 2 years ago or something like that. Well worth a watch. I really like that one. So I've given all of my long list and honourable mentions. All I have is my
We've missed
pick.
so many. We've missed so many.
Yes. There are hundreds of remakes out there. Hundreds. But these are just the ones.
The Fly is a great remake.
Well, let's
really, really
not
great.
bring it up because maybe someone's going to bring it up as their best pick.
Huh?
Maybe.
Huh?
Yes.
You're joking me. You're picking a horror film.
Yes, I'm picking The Fly.
Are you kidding me?
No, seriously. And I actually went.
I don't know you at all.
I went
nearly 300 episodes, and you're shocking me.
I went to
The Fly.
I went and I watched the original, the 1958 original with Vincent Price and everything.
Yeah, but the squeaky voice. What did you say?
Happy.
It's really, really, really silly. but it's got that Mant kind of vibe. I watched it with
Holy
that lens
Christ.
of Mant.
I forgot that I watched The Blob. I went back and I watched the Steve McQueen Blob film.
Shit, I wanted to watch that. I actually found the 1980, whatever it was. Okay, what?
Have you not seen the 88 film?
No, I actually got it and in preparation, but I wanted to get the
Christ.
original. I couldn't find the original to watch it.
The Remake is one of my favourite horror films, and I think the
man.
Holy Trinity. Oh Christ! Then there's another horror film, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes, that's another one I couldn't find. That's another one I watched
Oh my
because
God,
of the podcast.
both of those are great.
Yes.
The original and the remake. The original and the remake so much so that
Don
it
Siegel?
feels... Yeah, Don Siegel. He plays a cab driver in the remake. We talked about that on our 30 Days of Horror last year.
And
I did anyway.
I watched it because of the 30 Days of Horror last year.
Which one did you watch?
I watched the 1970s
The
one.
Philip Kaufman one, 78 one
which
with Donald
I
Sutherland.
loved. Oh my God.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Loved it.
But the original, the Don Siegel original is fantastic as well.
I couldn't find it. So I was searching for it so I could get it done, but I couldn't find the original.
We're talking about scenes, remake scenes and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'll say that in the original Invasion of Body Snatchers, there's a moment that happens that is far more successful in the original than the version that they do in the remake. And in the remake, so in the original, you can't show any emotion or they'll know that you're not one of the pod people and they'll like run after you and stuff. So Kevin McCarthy and the girlfriend are trying to get out of town and everyone else is a pod person and they're all like automatons going around and it's eerie and stuff. It's such a good film.
Yeah.
And they're walking along the streets of San Francisco and suddenly a dog runs across the road and it's about to get hit by a car. And she goes, no. And of course they look and go like, she's not a pod person. And they get chased away. And it's like, that is a very clever way to show something instinctual. You cannot hide that. It's like, that's an instinctual reaction to something terrifying, which is an animal getting hit.
Yeah.
And then in the remake, they don't do that. They do something which I think is really crap. And it's Brooke Adams sees a dog run up out of this factory, where all the pods are being sort of, it's like a greenhouse, are being cared for. And the dog has a human face and it looks up at her and it's so stupid. And it's there just to get the same reaction out of her. Whereas they had it originally in the first film. Just do that again. Just copy that. So yeah.
Help, wait! Help, please! Idiot! Look! You fools, you're in danger! Can't you see? They're after you! They're after all of us! Our wives, our children, everyone! They're here already! You're next! You're next! You're next! You're next! You're next!
Horror. When it comes to horror, there's so many. But go and watch the remake to the Blob
good.
because
Okay.
the original Blob is not very good at all.
No, that's good because I found that one, so I'm definitely going to watch it. Of course, The Departed. We brought up The Departed so many times.
Oh yeah,
it is brilliant.
An idea about what we do. We would not be good at what we do, would we? We would be cunts. You calling us cunts?
And I have to say, Spielberg's
True Grit. West Side Story.
I've been watching the original West Side Story. I thought Spielberg's remake of West Side Story was excellent. So
it was
so many fucking good ones. So many good ones. The Birdcage, which we brought up on the podcast before. There's a whole other subsection.
Oh, but I've never seen the original. See, these are the kind of films where I forget that they're remakes because I never saw the original French version.
And then there was an era of foreign language films that were remade within 5 years of them coming out because audiences or English speaking audiences don't like looking at subtitles. And
I don't blame him there, to be honest with you.
It's a lot. It hurts my brain. That's what it does.
It's really dangerous when you're driving.
Yeah. I went, one other one I sought out just to get it. Sorry for all this throwing in at the last second. I watched the original Lolita because I wanted to see what the 1990s remake was like. And
the one with Jeremy Irons.
Yeah. And basically the Jeremy Irons was just, I only watched a few minutes and just went, no, this is not the original. And the original is creepy. Its core subject matter is incredibly creepy. But James Mason kind of wins you over. It's great.
He's got that voice.
Yeah.
He's very, very seductive.
He is.
In how he speaks.
It's really...
Come here, Lolita. Sit down there. That's a good girl.
That's him. He's great. I've grown to love James Mason over the course of researching this topic. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. The original Lolita, disturbing as and unnerving as some of the core characters' motivations may be, it's an entertaining film. It's worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Definitely.
Look, don't you want to get back to where we were before we came to this horrible place? Don't you want to come away with me?
No! I hate you! I hate you!
Lolita! You want to stay with this filthy boy? That's what it is.
This is going to be one of these episodes, right, where people are going to be screaming, going like, why did you not talk about the 10 Commandments from Sesame the Middle?
Of course.
No,
Everyone's talking about the 10 Commandments by Sesame or Ben-Hur. Why did you talk about the 2016 remake of Ben-Hur? That's fucking class by your man who made Night Watch.
But people will be annoyed with us. But look, this is just it, as usual. It's a conversation,
of course,
topic. Will, tell me why you picked The Fly. I'm shocked. I'm delighted.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
You are about to go beyond that limit.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I had them analyzed. But they were definitely not human.
A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone.
Don't go back to it. It could be contagious.
I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid.
No, be afraid. Be very afraid.
I picked The Fly because I watched the original. I went and I sought out the 1956 original, and it has the core main story, but it's a bit shit. It has this whole section where Vincent Price is trying to figure out what happened to this man whose head was crushed in a mechanical vice. I have to say, I love David Cronenberg's adaptation of The Fly, which came out in 1986, starring Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis, because it is another example of a filmmaker who took kind of crappy B-movie, which had a really, really odd idea, and made it fantastic and compelling and sensual and funny. But it's a tragedy, a kind of a story of Prometheus.
The ambition of one man.
Yeah, classic trope of horror movies. A scientist, and in this case, not a mad scientist, but benevolent scientist trying to do something that for the betterment of man, and he just goes too fast, too soon, and he falls afoul of that impatience. Him and his girlfriend, Gina Davis, end up being the victims, essentially, in the story. I found the body horror incredibly
sexy.
No. I found it humane, in the sense it didn't...
When he vomits up the acid onto the guy's arm.
It's the tragedy of seeing for instance, he transports a baboon and it's a failed transportation. And when we see the baboon on the other side, the baboon essentially is inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's horrifying. It's horrifying, and the characters find it horrifying, and it's devastating. It's an awful, awful experience. But I feel the filmmaker is telling me that. He says, Jesus, look at the horror of what he's done to further his advances to get to where he wants to be. Look at the cost. I felt the film was saying something about testing on animals and whatnot. But essentially, at the core of it, it's the relationship between Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis to be wonderful. I totally...
Well, they fell in love on that film.
Did they? You could feel, if they had great chemistry.
Yeah.
Incredible
They were a couple
chemistry.
for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And she is so obsessed with him that she cannot let him go. She wants to save him from himself.
It's incredibly tragic.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. Yeah.
Incredibly tragic, but in its own weird way, entertaining film. I don't know how I've ended up here, but as I was thinking about all the films and films...
I think Mel Brooks probably felt the same way.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Why?
He produced that film.
Oh, I forgot Mel Brooks produced it. Okay, right, shit.
He took his name off it because he felt that people would view it negatively.
Wow.
If his name was on there, they think, oh, this is a comedy. But he spearheaded and shepherded that project, and he fully supported David Cronenberg, and he thought this was a guy that had something to say. And
wow,
I'm serious. I'm not joking.
But it tracks because he produced the Elephant Man, which is I would actually put them.
I cannot remember who the original director was in it. There was somebody else, and they left. And the Cronenberg came in and he basically started over.
It's a really, really good film. And I'm saying it's my pick. So essentially it is my pick for this. I'm picking the scene where I hate the stuff of him deteriorating and that repulses me. But I'm picking the scene where he first transports over and the fly gets caught in the telepods, as he call it. I found myself, again, when I rewatched it this past week, I found myself screaming, saying, open the fucking door, open the window, or smash it, or do something with that fucking fly, because I don't want this to happen to you. I like you. Don't let this happen to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you think of that conversation scene that happens in the cafe, where Jeff Goldblum is gifted, where he can just make whole reams of dialogue just feel like it's just coming off the cuff. He's just thinking. He's coming up with this stuff. It's not lines, it's thoughts. He's sharing thoughts. He's looking for the words and he's rattling this stuff off. He plays jazz every time he performs a scene, and I love him.
So I asked the computer if it had improved me, and it said it didn't know what I was talking about, and that's made me think very carefully about what I've been feeling and why. And I'm beginning to think that the sheer process of being taken apart atom by atom and put back together again, why, it's like coffee being put through a filter. It's somehow a purifying process. It's purified me. It's cleansed me. And I'll tell you, I think it's going to allow me to realize the personal potential I've been neglecting all these years, that I've been obsessively pursuing goal after goal.
Do you normally take coffee with your sugar?
What?
Great movie. It really is a great movie. And I'm shocking the world that I'm picking a body horror film as my best pick.
How you doing? Am I different somehow?
Remake scene. How about you, Kevin?
Well, I can tell you, right, that the very first episode we did, best screenwriter scene, and we were trying to figure out the podcast, whether the concept had any play to it, whether we could actually make a podcast out of this. Something we started in lockdown. We were both just testing out on mic. Let's see if we can do it. We'll have a chat, see if it works. And I went with William Goldman as my screenwriter, and it's one of those episodes where all of our flaws and the kinks that we hadn't ironed out yet are on display. Very short episode. I think it's 20 odd minutes or something.
Yeah.
And there are some editing issues in there and what have you. But I will tell you this. One of the ideas that I had for that topic was what my pick is going to be.
Okay.
And so I went with William Goldman as my favorite screenwriter, and I went with The Princess Bride, and it was To the Pain.
To the Pain.
Was the scene.
Yes.
But my backup was going to be Dale Launer. And I mentioned to you on the last episode when I talked about Ruthless People that Dale Lorna was one of my favourite writers. I love his stuff. He wrote My Cousin Vinny, Ruthless People. He did Blind Date. Obviously, as a screenwriter, there are lots of other scripts that were like buried in the drawers, as he would have it, of projects that didn't happen. But the other one that he did is one of my favourite comedies, and it's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Oh,
by Frank Oz.
Steve Martin and Michael Caine are competitors in the Riviera's most profitable business, but with very different styles.
Do you have any idea what it feels like to take a woman for $20?
No, I haven't. I'm afraid it's a little out of my class.
Can two con men survive in a town really made for one?
Really? We find a woman, set a price, and the first man to extract the correct amount from her wins.
Wish me luck. Let the contest begin.
If I lose, I'll leave. If I win, you leave.
To prove once and for all who is the dirtiest.
You are immoral.
Steve Martin is the man no woman can resist.
Eat your food.
Excuse me. May I go to the bathroom first?
Of course you may.
Thank you.
And Michael Caine is
Lawrence Jameson.
Chip Soto. Dr. Emil Schaffhausen.
and they're both dirty, rotten scoundrels.
Do you want the whole world to know?
Dirty, rotten scoundrels. You mustn't turn your back on them for a second.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
And I said to you, I love Frank Oz. And I was shocked to learn, not until the DVD, that it was a remake of a film that starred David Niven and Marlon Brando called Bedtime Story, a 50s film.
No.
It was one of those films that I was aware of and I wanted to track down. And so I watched it at the time for the very first episode. And then I decided to change my mind and do William Goldman. So I never had a reason to talk about it. But I'll tell you, it shocked me to see how many of my favourite moments from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels are one-to-one scenes from the original.
Wow.
So there are moments in the remake, the one with Michael Caine and Steve Martin and Glyn Headley, where her character is a whole new invention. She's brought into it as like the third character who's a con woman, and she ends up, getting one over on them. But essentially it's two con men go to the French Riviera and they have a wager and they try to compete against each other. And they zero in on this heiress who in the remake is Glyn Headley, but in the original, she's just a character that they both kind of fall in love with. They one up each other and it is fucking hilarious. The sort of the hijinks that they get up to. And when I watched the original, I was shocked that it was like, oh my God, that scene that I love is not from the script. It's from the original.
Wow.
That scene is not from the script. It's from the original. There's an awful lot of the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels script that was ad-libs by Steve Martin. They worked an awful lot on coming up with the ending and changing a lot of things. So it was one of those things where it was the work of an awful lot of people, not just Dale Lorna.
Right.
When we got this topic, I thought I'm going to go right back to that very first idea that I had,
right,
and bring it back here. And I think I even have the clip saved from that very first episode because I always knew I was going to use it. And one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema when it comes to comedies is the moment when Steve Martin is pretending to be paralyzed.
Right. Yes.
And Michael Caine is pretending to be this famous doctor who can make him walk again.
Yeah.
And Glyn Headley is so innocent that she, obviously it gets revealed that she's not all that she seems, but she begs Michael Caine to give a consultation on Steve Martin and see if she can get him walking again.
Yeah.
And so it's the same when Michael Caine starts to whip.
It's very good. It's very good.
Whip Steve Martin's bare legs.
Yeah.
It's like, do you feel that? Do you feel anything? It's the sound effects, it's everything, and it's like, whew, do you feel that? No, don't. And then he opens the double doors and he goes all the way back out and he stands back and he's watching him. He knows he's going to run up to him and whip him across the legs.
Yeah.
And he makes a running fucking leap and he breaks it off his legs. And it ends with Glyn Headley going, look, he's crying. He's so happy. I swear to Christ, that film kills me every single time. It's so funny.
Dr. Emil Schaffhausen.
At last we meet, Officer Benson. After all those letters, I feel that I know you.
He can't believe it's really you.
Yes, I think that's it. I am here to help you, my boy.
Great.
Tell me if you feel this. Tiggle, tiggle, tiggle.
No.
No. We must try something else. Now tell me, do you feel this?
No.
How about that?
Nothing.
Nothing, huh? Watch yourself, Janet. Back a little bit. Thank you. How about this? Nothing?
Do you really think you can get him to walk again?
Oh, I will have him running, jumping, shouting, screaming. Oh, my name isn't Dr. Emil Schaffhausen. The third.
Look, Doctor, he's so happy he's crying.
But that scene is exactly the same in the original. The Marlon Brando character is pretending to be paralyzed. David Niven takes a poker and decides to whip him across the legs. It is nowhere near as funny because of the comedy timing that Frank Oz imbues it, the sense that they allow it space to inhabit the film. It's like one of the big set pieces. There's so many in that film. But it is, again, like what I was saying about LA Takedown and Heat, it's those little details where it's about the rhythm and the pacing and the shot composition.
Yeah.
Where you can take a very amusing scene in the original Marlon Brando and David Niven and you can transform it into one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life that will still crack me up. And it's pure down to direction. It's like how the scene, and editing, I suppose, how it's put across. But
did you feel that?
No, sir.
How about that?
No, sir, nothing.
Young lady, this case intrigues me. I'll take Corporal Benson as a patient,
Freddie, did you hear that?
so I can really go to work on him.
Oh, Doctor, thank you so much. Do you think you'll have him walking again?
I'll have him running. I'll restore feeling to these lifeless limbs, or my name is not Doctor Emil Schaffhausen.
Oh, look, Doctor. He's so happy he's crying.
And then, of course, they remade it again with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson, The Hustle, which... Yeah, it's a rare case of a remake of a remake.
I'm really rattled. I that's something I never knew about that. About that film. I never knew the original was Bedtime Stories. That's incredible.
Bedtime Story.
Bedtime Story. I was just looking it up there. But what you're saying is so apt. Is basically in weaker hands, we'll say, a scene may be good, but in a master's hands, it could be something else.
So you take Psycho, and it's like a one-to-one remake. It captures everything the same way, same shot composition, same music, same dialogue, same rhythm of scenes. Although it's in color and although there are dream sequences added in, it's not the same, and it's very hard to put your finger on what exactly is different other than the essence that was captured at the time it was recorded with those specific actors, with that director's presence. So I think if anything can reveal how important the direction is to a film, it is watching those specific kind of films like Bedtime Story, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, LA Takedown and Heat, Psycho and Psycho, because there's a magic that's captured when you make a film, and it's very hard to put your finger on what exactly is the missing ingredient. Time and money. Well, we have some letters in from people, some emails that I'm saving, because they're big topics. They're big ones that will require a lot of research. So I don't want to mention them right now. So I'm going to spin the wheel, and I have curated the wheel so that they're all easy topics relatively.
Okay, good. I need that.
And here I go. I'm going to spin it.
Right.
It's been a while since I spun the wheel.
I haven't heard this sound in months. Months and months.
Nor have I. There's no sound coming out of it right now. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
It's best anti-hero scene.
Okay, best anti-hero scene. I could do that. I can do that. That sounds like a writery topic. So
how is it writery?
I don't know. I know in my head I'm going to start thinking about what's an anti-hero. What are good anti-heroes? Yeah. So no, that's cool. I'm into that.
Is an anti-hero just a hero but with a chip on their shoulder?
I think it's a hero with a chip on their shoulder. Yeah. So I'm into that. That's good. As Paris Hilton would say, that's hot.
Happy.
Well, you know what? Listen, that was an episode and a half. It's quite a long one, but I hope you enjoyed it. We didn't cover everything. We never do. We're not really good at this, but we enjoy doing it. You can listen to more from us on our Patreon.
Sure.
There'll be a little clip to a mini bits coming after this. We had fun recording that, even though we haven't recorded it yet. Also, you can write a review for us on whatever app you use and tell people about the podcast if you enjoy listening to us. Thanks to all our new patrons that have come along.
You're all great.
That's it, Will.
Great. I'm so glad. I'm actually looking forward to the next topic. It's exciting. It's exciting. I've got research to do.
What one is it again?
Best anti-hero, Kevin.
Oh. You listening?
I'm listening.
Okie dokie.
Very good. Okay, great. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
The Best Bits podcast is produced by Will and Kevin. All audio clips and music heard in this episode is the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a Patreon member, where you'll receive bonus shows where we talk about recent releases and what we're up to. And you'll receive access to our Discord chat room, where we hang out with our listeners. Search the Best Bits podcast on Patreon or click on the link in the show notes.
I love you.
And here is a clip from the lads' latest Mini Bits bonus show. The full episode, plus 100 more, are available on their Patreon.
We can't put this in Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Oh Christ. Jesus Christ, they're on the mic. Oh Jesus Christ, they're on the mic. Oh Jesus Christ, they're on the mic. Jesus. Will's got stories, Kev's got jokes, bringing laughter to the folks. From the highest high to the lowest low. It's a brand new Best Bits bonus show with these two fun guys. Jesus Christ.
I cannot believe he missed that shot.
Who are we talking about?
Harry Kane. Why? What are you talking about?
I was thinking about Novak Djokovic. That's where my brain went to.
Will, it's another mini bits. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been busy. It's summertime. The kids are off for summer holidays. And I want to tell you a quick one. Luke did a soccer camp last week. He's got a Gaelic football camp this week. And when I picked him up today, he got in the car and he was kind of like just downbeat. And I said, how'd you get on today? He says,
Good.
And I said, did anything happen? He says,
the coach thinks my name is a bib.
And I was like, what?
A bib?
Yeah, the coach thinks that my name is a bib. We were doing like a drill and he was like demonstrating what was going on, and half the team were wearing like jerseys and the other half were wearing bibs, and he was demonstrating. He says, when I pass the ball to...
Your man was looking for Luke to tell him his name, and Luke said...
A bib?
I said he took the kids with a bib. So for the rest of the day, the coach has been calling him a bib.
What a stupid bastard.
He's still calling him a bib.
Did he not correct him? Did he not tell him? I'm not a bib.
No. But Luke was kind of like embarrassed by it. Like he was kind of like dejected. And at dinner this evening, I said, Luke, tell him the story about the name. And when he told the story, oh Christ, Karen actually nearly wet herself. It was so funny. But we said, Luke, you have to stick this out now. And on the last day, tell him your name's... Tell him your name.
But it's not anyone else going to slip a note to the coach on the team and say his name's not a bib, it's Ahmed.
It's not Abib, it's Habib.
Yeah, gut it out and then get to shame them all on the last day.
Yeah, I think I would stick it out. I would stick it out. Hey, you've been watching a bunch of stuff. Tell me.
I have. Will we start the timer? Let's talk about Trump first of all, because that's huge news.
This is going to be a disaster. This is terrible. Oh my God.
That picture looked incredible.
Yeah, that's iconic. That's going to go down in history.
It is.
I assume that's already tattooed on someone's
It is. I already
chest.
saw a tattoo and it looked atrocious.
Really?
Yeah. My dad. It was just awful. No, I saw it on some guy's shoulder on the internet and it looked maggoty.
Maggoty.
But I suppose those people have no sense. They've got no sense. But you know what, though? It reminded me of Civil War, and you finally got to see Civil War. There's a segue for you.
I just watched it the previous night. Like, I was kind of... That's why it kind of landed, I think it landed heavier for me because it was very fresh in my consciousness. You've been saying it's your favourite film of the year so far.
So far, I haven't ranked any of them, but it blew me away. I loved it in the cinema. I thought it was fantastic.
It's
a thoughtful action film.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was... I loved the way into this world through the lens of these journalists, photojournalists particularly. What I liked about it was that neither side, there was no clear parallel, real world parallel presented by either side. You couldn't quite tell exactly, what the California and Texan alliance represented. Was the president a stand-in for Trump, the Nick Offerman character? I think he was.
I think he... Yeah. I mean, I don't understand where people thought that it was sitting on the fence and thought it was very blunt about its politics, and it gave me enough to be able to get it, and that's all I needed. It was a story about a conflict that was nonsensical, and the people that tried to cover it, and what I appreciate about it, and I think I've probably said this in the past, it covered the US as a conflict zone the same way that films would cover a conflict zone in
Ukraine, fucking Bosnia.
Yeah, Ukraine, anywhere. It's a backdrop, and it was a backdrop in this, and so it kind of just treated it the same way that other films would have treated a conflict in another country, and I appreciate it. I thought it was a fantastic film.
Many bits.